4, 3.
We'll do it live!
Now we're live! Erin Kennedy. The general craziness of it, the impact on your life.
We have gone through so many stories and we said, you know what? This should not be kept to the two of us. Hi, Megan.
Are you wearing pants today?
Do you know how many times I get asked that in a day? I am. I'm wearing sweats, though, probably the same as you, right?
Samesies. It's like my.
I do have a blanket and a heating pad because my office is very cold.
Why? Oh, you are in the tundra. I forgot you're up in Minnesota.
I'm in the frozen tundra of Minnesota.
Mm.
Yeah. So now I don't have to pretend that I'm a professional anymore. Well, at least from here up, I am.
Belly button up. Which
Belly
is party on
button
bottom. You know what I mean? That works.
So Megan, how about today's guest?
I'm so excited. So we have known this guest for quite a while. Both of us kind of worked with him off and on, that little radio TV synergy that often happens for like cross-promotional purposes and all that stuff. And it was always one of my favorite parts of my day to call in and be on their show.
Yes.
So I'm really excited about today.
Yes. I'm going to bring him on, but he's not going to talk because he wants to do his head TV bobble. So don't say anything yet.
We're going to judge it. I'm going to rate
We're going to judge him. So our next guest needs no introduction. He is here to join us for an in-depth interview on the inside workings of Chicago radio, what it takes to make it, and why it's not working some days. Please welcome Ramblin Ray.
I give that a 10. You know what I liked was that like
good. Yeah.
You gave like that like pensive and alone vibe there for a second.
Yeah.
My dog's getting ready to bark. That's how pro this shop is.
Megan and I did an episode on the TV head bobble. We did like a light news one. So let's hear. This is when it's a good news story.
Oh,
Let's see. Yeah, that's good. Oh, that's good.
If it's a carjacking,
carjacking.
show me. The smirk.
And like the pensive eyebrows.
But you don't want to do that because I can't tense my eyebrows because of my Botox.
Right. And that's fine. Like
why are you getting Botox, man? You're not on TV.
I'm not getting Botox, but let's just say somebody in my family does. So
yeah. Who doesn't do Botox anymore? I feel like that's
right.
She doesn't need it. She doesn't need it because she's absolutely gorgeous. But
yeah, if your forehead moves in LA, it's like, you know what I mean? You can't, ain't nobody moving there.
Yeah.
You're
not
bit
from
more
around
modern
here, are you?
So, Ray, as Megan mentioned, we have both had the pleasure of working with you in Chicago. I got to guest co-host with you one morning, which was still one of the highlights of my Chicago career. You light up a room. You are such a great, warm personality. And I think what's fun is that even when Megan and I were kind of dipping a little bit outside of our comfort zone and doing radio, you always made us feel very welcome and loved.
So easy.
And I think that genuine quality that you have is obviously what is one of the many things that has made you so successful in Chicago radio.
Well, having done a little bit of TV, and I don't mean any offense to TV people, but radio is something that we know where we're going, but we don't necessarily script it. So you've got a little bit of freedom to really be yourself, and you never really know what's going to happen. You try to know where it's going to end, and we always liked having you guys in because as a radio guy, TV people in Chicago to me are, and it's always been a different level because it's a hard media market. Ever since I was a little boy, I would watch, since I'm a lover of winter, I would watch John Coleman from when I was a little boy, who was a legendary guy at ABC 7. And it was always just the next level for me. So to have TV people in the studio, I just thought it always brought a bigger audience. It made you guys real connectable, and especially you two. We really got to almost live Megan's twins' pregnancy on the radio.
We did. We chatted about it.
I worked with Lisa Dent, and man, there was nothing off topic. Everything was wide open, and we just lived our true, honest lives on the radio. And and to be able to get that out of somebody of your guys' stature, because let's face it, you're on TV, you're beautiful, you're stars, you are. whether you like that or not. Chicago makes television people stars. And I think that broadened our audience. I don't know if it helped you guys at all, but it let you be real people to our audience, which is cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It didn't
and you
help
know
us
what?
enough, Ray. Didn't help us enough.
No, that's the thing, Ray, though, that's why I loved coming on with you guys, because it's like you could only be maybe a little portion of yourself on TV news. You cannot let like the whole Megan or the whole Erin out. That was not even there was no place for that.
Yeah.
So being able to talk with you guys was so much fun. So I guess like
Yeah.
my biggest question to you is, what makes a radio star? Like, what is it about a radio person that makes them amazing?
Well, if we had a radio star here, we could ask them, but I'll try to do my best to answer. Yeah, I think the reason that I've had any success in Chicago has been that I'm from here, and I've worked all over the country. Currently, I fill in on KCMO in Kansas City. I do a lot of work with Cumulus. I've been asked to do some work in San Antonio. Been on in Nashville, but there's nothing like playing for the hometown team and crowd. And as long as in Chicago, you know what these people are going through. You're from here, you understand, and you never try to elevate yourself above the listener. And I think that's where some people get in trouble, because now they're a star, they're a radio star, and Chicago loves its media people. There's no doubt about it. But I always fancied myself as a regular guy, brought up in a blue collar family here in town. I was a sheet metal worker, and I was working on the buildings way before I was working in them, and I think if you just are who you are and you can offer something to somebody's everyday life and they can say, wow, man, this guy's just like me. And then you get involved in the community and you do charity, or as I like to call it, doing good in the hood. I think you can always, people will love you for that. One of the most memorable things we have that we do, at least for me, is, nobody ever talks about the trips we sent them on or the concerts that they went to. They always talk about, hey, I donated that year to St. Jude Children's Hospital, or I was at a benefit you guys hosted. And that's a big, big reason, I think, for success. If you love this town, it'll love you back.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
I remember when I was hosting with you, Ray, and this was, Chicago was a new to me market, but I hadn't realized until I had a conversation with you how very Chicago focused Chicago was. And you made a point of being inclusive with the fact that our market reaches a lot more than just, the little block that is the city. And
Right.
I think, again, that kind of goes back to your success. And you gave us some of these pictures, which I think are just fantastic. You mentioned your charity work, but you fish, you do rescues. So this is, I think, you are such a great, good human being. And I think that this is, again, part of your success.
Well, I don't know if I'm a great human being, but I try. I think we're all flawed creatures and we just do our best to give back. The picture you're seeing there with the van, that's Alderman Silvana Taveras, Alderman Ray Lopez. And what I did there was when the Ukraine war started, they were in desperate need of just things that we take for granted. So that picture there is that is a load full of blankets. And I just started to collect blankets. And before I knew it, I had a cargo shipment full of blankets that we sent to help heroes of Ukraine. It seems trite to collect blankets, but they needed those. And it was a way that people could give, and everybody had a spare blanket or even new ones. And we I like to think we made a difference there, and people got involved. And that was the cool thing. We did it in the suburbs. We did it in the city. Of course, Ray Lopez is in the 15th ward. That's you hear about it all the time. Inglewood, Brighton Park. It's a tough neighborhood, but the people that live there, they just there's 2% of the bad people that are doing crime in that neighborhood. The rest of the people, off the charts, wonderful. And that's where I like to help out. The other one was my rescue dog, Tyrone. We work with Paws Chicago. We work tirelessly with Paws Chicago, and both Gina and I are in love with that dog there. I'm not sure I included my other dog, Hutchie, but we have 2 rescues. We try to attend all the events. We give back, and they do so much good in the neighborhood with the homeless pets in Chicago. And the other one is just a gratuitous photo of me holding a really nice size smallmouth bass. That's about well, if I'm cheating in a fishing tournament in Ohio, that's a 20-pound fish.
We won't
But
tell
that's
anybody.
just some of the stuff I like to do.
Okay, Ray, there's a question I've always had for radio people compared to the way it works in TV. So
Okay.
when you are in TV news, like you cannot be seen to be promoting any products. You cannot be seen to be like promoting anything. They ask you to do a commercial, you can't do it, all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
for you guys, it was like a totally different world,
Yeah.
right? Like if you're Ray and people
yeah.
love you,
Yeah.
you could like reap the rewards, yeah?
Well, it's funny because my girl Gina always tells me that I was an influencer before you were allowed to be an influencer. Now this is here, for instance, this is a sweater weather mug that Gina and I have on our. We have a little shop called shopsustainablegrace.com. It's a store that she started in honor of her mother who passed away from cancer, and it's all women empowerment type of things. She's a good Christian girl. She's a strong woman, just like you guys are. That's the only way I live. I've always lived my life with women that'll put me right in line, and I think I'm better for it. But
We think so too.
but she started the company, and she's like, you were doing this on radio years ago when we had all of those endorsements. We had so many big ones too, and you could make bank. It's not so much that way anymore. I mean, radio is contracting; it's not expanding. But there's still a possibility there to make good money with radio endorsements. I know you can't do that in TV news or in radio news generally either. But there was an ability there, and still is an ability to. We used to say that if we can't match our income that we were making, and we were doing all right, that we weren't doing our job, because we would hustle.
Wow. Yeah.
We would hustle.
So that,
Yeah.
like, give me an idea of, you don't have to say the brands or the companies or the products or whatever, but like how
Or you
many
can.
of those, or if you want, but like how
Here, I'll
many
give you
of
an
those
idea.
were coming to you?
One of the best ones I ever had was Toyota trucks. Now, Toyota came to me, and they knew that I was a truck user. And I think, okay, here's a guy that works on a country station, all the stereotypes. He probably drives a truck, probably wears a cowboy hat. Which was all, it always kind of bugged me, because even though we were playing country music in Chicago, and I love that way of life, we're still in Chicago. We're playing country music, but we still have to be a hip, cool radio station. And I think we did that. So Toyota comes to me, and they said, listen, we know you're a Ford truck owner. Would you at least try our pickup truck and talk about it on the radio? And I said, no, because now, granted, this truck's being built in, I believe they build a truck in Texas. There's a lot of American parts on this truck. And I just thought, for the brand that we have, America's Country Station, for me to drive a foreign truck is a little disingenuous. So then they told me what they were going to pay me for the truck. And like any good guy, I can be bought. But what they told me was, they said, drive the truck like it's your own, try to break it. And they were amazing when they came to me. They were going to drive the truck for 8 weeks. I ended up driving this Toyota truck for 8 years. They'd give me a new truck every year. I'd drive it to 8,000 miles and turn it in. They would pay me, I think it was $3,000 a month to drive that vehicle. I had that deal for 8 years. I mean, that's another salary for most people. That was one of the best deals I ever had. So
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And we could put together.
What were they asking for you to do though, Ray? Like, yes, you had to drive the truck, you turn it in at 8,000 miles, but like, was there like a certain number of times they needed you to mention it on the air? How'd that work?
So here's the thing. So they have to buy advertising, which is good for the radio station. If radio station's making money, they're happy. If they're not making money, they're not happy. Obviously, you guys know that. Ratings and revenue is what drives our business. So they would buy it, an ad buy, and aside from that, they would pay me. We had microsites. This was right at the precipice of social media. And we had a microsite where I would go to my buddy's farm. I'd haul a grain wagon. We'd do things in the truck, pull a fishing boat, talk about it, go to the Chicago Auto Show, document, what this truck could do. And then that it could also be, really a family-friendly vehicle in the city of Chicago, with backup cameras and sonar and all those things that are creature comforts. So they would want me to expound on how good of a truck it is. And I will tell you this, I am a Ford vehicle owner. And I currently do a deal with a dealership called Friendly Ford in Roselle as an influencer. But that Toyota truck won me over. And it was good for both of us, because I became a believer in their product, and they believed in me. And an 8-year run is
That's
a long
long.
run. Now,
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
you guys know from sitting in that studio with me, we might have 4 of those a day. Well, sometimes, you could be cashing, $20,000 checks every 2 weeks. I mean, it was ridiculous. It's
I
not
mean,
like
like,
that anymore.
But that doesn't
what?
happen anymore.
Not to that extent. I think it's still available. But the money for radio talent, just like in your business,
Yeah.
one person's doing 16 jobs. Maybe not so much in a big market, but there's a lot of voice tracking, and it kills me because I think anybody that's in this business understands. Okay, well, if it's not working out so well right now, let's you and I come to an agreement that maybe I can take what we'd call a little haircut. Pay me a little bit less. Let's get it back on track and let's talk then. But the knee-jerk reaction to seeming to fix everything is to cut people.
Yeah.
Let's have one guy do the job or one woman do the job of 10 people. You're stressing people out. You're not getting the quality product that you should. And when you're taking local talent out of a market like Chicago and piping in somebody from LA, it will never work here. And you're not doing anything different than somebody can listen to Spotify or Pandora. If I just want to hear a jukebox, why listen to the radio? I want to listen to the radio so somebody can teach me something about this town. Somebody can tell me something good about this town and relate to what's going on in Chicago. It's offensive to me that we have no live local hosts overnight in Chicago on the radio in a city of 3 million people.
Anymore. We don't.
No, it's wrong. It's just wrong. And listen, I think radio will survive. It's still the most listened to and most used media. But now everybody has a platform. Everybody's got social media. And I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of stuff that there's people that have platforms that shouldn't have.
Oh, yeah.
Better
Like us.
Better when you can only listen to the guy on the radio.
I mean, Ray, were you working under contracts? And if so, how long were those contract lengths?
Well, I think the longest when I started, and man, I had some lean years. When you start, and you guys know this, and I think people understand, and it's this way in any business. When you start, man, there's no money there. I think the first contract I signed was for doing evenings at US 99. I had just come from a small suburban radio station out in Aurora, WAUR, and I think I signed a 3-year deal at $22,000 a year, which wasn't a lot of money then. It certainly isn't a lot of money now.
TV job. Sounds like a TV job.
Wait, but here's the difference between radio and TV. The aforementioned sales could help me make a living.
Right.
You found the best salesperson in the radio station, and you hooked up with them. And we had this one saleswoman named Becky Miller. Oh my God, she could sell an igloo to an Eskimo. She was amazing, and that could really make a difference in how you lived your life. And I think that just you build up your. And working nights in Chicago was really cool because you drive in, you see the city. It's a different kind of, the city's alive. It was really one of my favorite things to do. Working all nights was amazing.
Yeah. So it sounds like, though, that you are familiar with the same volatility that Megan and I have lived through.
Yeah.
We, got kicked off the merry-go-round. That language has been lawyer approved. But you have also been at many shops, right? You've had the rug pulled out from underneath you.
Oh, yeah.
And now you are an independent radio contractor, right? So
that's what I call myself right now. No, I'll be real honest with you. I'm in talks right now with a major radio station in Chicago to
hire him now.
Pardon me?
I said hire him now.
Yeah. He's the best.
That would be a good thing because it's not ideal to piecemeal work. And there's a misconception that Lisa and I were let go from US 99, and that's not the case. I left. I didn't like management. I didn't like what they were doing at the radio station. And I certainly didn't like the way that Lisa was treated from time to time. I mean, I would go in the program director's office, the boss, and yell at him for the way that he would sometimes treat her. But Lisa, I always say this about Lisa, and this has been lawyer proof. She's got them and they clank like pickle jars. But one time we I'll let that sink in for a second. One time she was supposed to go to she wanted to go to a deal at Reba's house. Reba McEntire was throwing a party for just women in radio. And our boss at the time said, no, she can't go. I went in the office and I just started screaming at him. And I'm like, this woman is the definition of, the who's who of women in country radio or radio in general. And she's outside with her phone videotaping me inside with the door closed, yelling at the boss. But there was a lot of things that didn't make sense. So I decided to leave the radio station and then go do talk. And then it was a short-lived jaunt at WLS AM doing talk, but it was such an experience because I learned so much. And I learned that, I don't need records. And you prep, you put down pieces of paper with news stories or fun stories or kickers, as you and I would call them. And when you're done, you pick up the next piece of paper and you just work. And Cumulus Media has been actually very good to me. They own WLS. I've done a lot of fill-in work for them. It's you call it the merry-go-round. I call it, I call it musical chairs. Right now my chair has been pulled. I'm confident that I will be back. I've got a good agent. I've done a lot of TV work and a lot of things to supplement, but filling in and doing it's not ideal and it's hard. It's hard for somebody to call you from San Antonio and say, "Hey Ray, we want you to fill in tomorrow."
Like you said, you don't know San Antonio, but you can do a great job.
So, and what they don't understand is they want to pay me a union wage, which isn't a great deal of money. Still, right. Money's money. But the amount of prep work that I have to do to go to that town, here from Chicago, because I don't want to be the guy that's being piped in from the next market that's not local. I want to be tied in locally. I want to do things that matter. And as you guys know, our brand is all we have. And I don't want to go somewhere and say, that guy just phoned it in. So it almost is not worth it to be a fill-in guy unless they want to give you a week or two of work.
Yeah. Right. So then that prep time's worth it if you're going to be there long enough to make it work for you. If it's just for like a day, it's probably a lot of work for one day.
It is. It's a lot of work. And once you're in the groove, and music radio is totally different, because anybody can say, hey, what's your favorite song in the shower? And then play 2 songs in a row.
Yeah.
Mindless. Talk radio is different because you need to be on. You need to know a little bit about everything. But once you're in the groove and you do it on a consistent daily basis, it's like nothing. It's like I know that I could go do 4 hours of talk today. I'd probably have to prep an hour or 2 for it. But when you prep right and you're in there and then the phones start working and you're talking to people and you've got a good news person or producer, it just makes it really, really easy. Now I will say this, and I want to bring up the shop that you guys were let go of because, I think you get back at people by living well. You try not to hold any grudges, but, you guys, and the reason we work together is because we had that CBS synergy. But, and you guys know what I think about you. Lisa would always say, you're in love with him. And I'm like, yeah, but that's because you were approachable, you were real. Guys like Rob Johnson that I'm friends with, how do even remember Don Schwenneker? Could have been one of the nicest guys in the world.
I knew the weather was Don.
Yeah. But he's a good guy, not necessarily Chicago ilk, but he was a good guy. There was good people at CBS too. And they get rid of all you guys. And what happens? Does it get better? It is a constant turnaround of a no ratings television station. And I don't mean that with any I'm trying not to be mean. I'm just being honest. For some reason, it doesn't work. So, getting rid of one of you 2 guys or Rob Johnson is going to make it better and you're going to bring in the next guy. It just, at that point, you can't fire the team. You got to look at management. And that's the thing that really bums me out about this business is we can't allow things to be bad. You can't look at somebody that has faltering ratings and no ratings and allow this to be the norm. And then have a guy like me sitting here on the sidelines knowing that I could do a better job. It's just a fact. And I don't mean that with ego. I just have a track record. But for some reason, people get a pass.
What you're capable of.
I don't get it. I don't get it. And that's what angers me.
So Ray, we have a lot to say about that, but we did sign NDAs. So I'm going to let that lie. I want to take you through some of our questions that we ask our TV people, but which will translate rather well for you. But before I do that, when do you hang up your hat? Because as you mentioned, this is a real hustle. And Megan and I, we both have 3 kids now. We just took a critical look at what we were being asked to give up to go to different markets or even stay in the same market, realizing that our salary had essentially capped out. We just said, hey, I'm going to throw in the towel right now, do something else. Is that ever in your cards?
Yeah, you know what? I think it is somewhere down the road, but not yet. I still have a daughter that needs to get into college. I run at a pretty high level. I still work out a lot, ride my bike. I mean, I just don't slow down. But if people would like to shop at shopsustainablegrace.com, Shop Sustainable Grace. No, if the little business took off, certainly, I don't want to work forever. I enjoy being up in the woods of Wisconsin. I enjoy being on my snowmobile, on my bicycle, in my boat.
But Ray,
here's your son and your mama, right?
Look at that, man. That's my son. Look at him. He's a good boy. He's a commercial real estate appraiser, and he loves his grandma. That's my mom. She's over there sitting in the other side of the boat. She's 90 years old, and we when we're up north with her, we fish every day. She likes to sip tequila, and those 2 right there are fishing buddies. So I love that. So sweet. Yeah, and I come from a construction working family, so work's just something that we do. It's not, this really isn't work. I mean, mentally, mentally it can be draining.
Like fun.
Yeah.
So
mentally, it's hard, but man, when you're in the groove and it's working, and being on talk radio in Chicago is amazing, especially if you're coming at it from the other side. If you're working, say, at a conservative station in such a liberal Democratic town, it can be fun. It's like poking the bear.
All right, right.
For you in radio, while Erin's pulling this up, I feel like, for you have the ability to still give like yourself, right? Like what's inside of you can still come out in the job when you're doing it, right? And there's like that flow. Like for us, it's like it was becoming less about who we are and almost all about like just be basically like Siri. You know what I mean? Like the weather is this and blah, 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 blah. And that's where I lost like sort of my desire to want to do that. Like if you let me out of the box, then I would have felt still like there was so much more to give. I think that's the difference.
And shame on them for doing that, because I mean, I don't need to placate you guys, but look at you. Look, I mean, you're full of life, you're fun, and women can relate to you. And the funny thing is, so can guys. And you don't run anybody off. You don't scare anybody. I always used to hear that about TV. Oh, they don't want somebody that, that the guy looks at, while he's watching TV with his wife, and he's like, oh, look, honey, isn't she hot? I always heard that BS crap, but you think about it. You look at what's going on in Chicago with WGN TV on their morning show with Larry and Robin Baumgarten. These guys are doing a radio show on TV.
Yes.
They just tear it up. And I think to myself, okay, they're really, really good with Pat Tomasulo and
Jeff they've got a great team. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Why can't somebody else do that?
I'll tell you why. Because the consultants say you can't compete with the 800-pound gorilla. So instead of giving them apples to apples, let's give them oranges. So then you put Megan in a box and you say, we're going to be the anti-WGN. No personality, no names, Megan, no flavor, just the news.
Do the weather.
Yep.
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
You know what consultants are?
Tell me.
Consultants are they want to do the job, but they just never really could do the job. So now they're consulting.
Yeah, you're totally right.
But I know some really brilliant consultants that are really good friends of mine that have really given me help and great advice. But here's the thing: why in Chicago? I mean, every morning radio show in Chicago they're trying. It may be a little bit of the same thing, but they're all trying. I look at some of these other television stations and I'm like, okay, I don't get why you've got a man on the street that shouldn't be working at an Aldi. He's not fun. He's not effervescent. He's not doing things that will make anybody laugh, watch, or listen. Why do that? And here, WGN just continues to kill. I'm telling you right now, Matt Piacente, I could do this. We could make ratings. There's just no doubt about it. They are doing a radio show on television, and they're being themselves, and it works. More people should
People
do
like that. They want that.
it. Absolutely.
So now we need to know more about Ray, right, Erin?
Yeah. Okay. And I'm just going to plug real quick, though. Speaking of other talent who was let go because they had a little bit too much personality, was Jenny Milkowski, who you know from TV and radio as well, Ray. Great episode. Go there. Ray, please share with us your craziest story.
My craziest story. I don't know. I know you guys both are wearing sweats. Right now, I'm not wearing any pants. My craziest story. Now, do you mean in the
job,
radio?
In the scope of the job?
Yeah.
Gosh, there's so many of them. You know, there's so many of them. I don't know if I can just pick one. Let me just give you some insight into what it was like. I've worked with two people in particular. One, Big John Howe, and then Lisa Dent. And Lisa Dent is absolutely insane. She's certifiably crazy. When we started working together, I don't think anybody knew really what was going to come of it because we were kind of like this. Yeah. But once we got an idea that, hey, man, you know, we have more in common than we don't, but we're still two different people, we really started to click. By the end of our radio relationship, she was riding snowmobiles and I was adopting dogs. We completely morphed into each other. But one night we went to see Big and Rich at Joe's Bar on Weed Street in Chicago. Big and Rich, save a horse, ride a cowboy. Yeah. So we go to Joe's. We have a big night, and Lisa and I both planned on staying downtown because we both commuted. We lived in the burbs, and we would, But I said, hey, let's go over to this other bar. And let's just go there and hang out for a little bit, and then we'll find somewhere to sleep tonight. We'll be fine. We'll get up bright and early. So this was already at midnight. We were with a friend of mine, Mike O'Malley, and what a night because he had this 2-seat Bentley, like $1 million car. I don't even know what these cars cost. And Lisa was in the back seat. Maybe had too much to drink. We're just having a blast. We had a designated driver. We go over to the Houndstooth Saloon. They're doing karaoke, and Lisa and I are standing on the bar singing karaoke at 2. Now it's 2 a.m, and we're drinking from a bottle of Jack Daniels together. I mean, a bottle of Jack Daniels. It's 2 a.m, singing George Strait. I remember singing Amarillo by Morning. So I think we left the bar at 4 a.m, and we had to be on the air at 5:30. And so we go.
Therein lies the difference between radio and TV. Like, we don't have enough time for our hair.
No, we didn't have to look good. We didn't feel good. I'll tell you that. So,
hey, Ray, would you get recognized when you were out? Or
oh yeah,
yeah.
Oh, we were owning the bar. We couldn't buy a drink. I mean, it was. And Houndstooth is it's a country bar in Chicago. Yeah. So we went from one country bar to the next.
Oh yeah.
So
you knew your audience.
So, yeah. And so we're there and we're eating it up. We're loving it. And it's funny because we just won our second CMA award. And when you win these awards, which are cool, the radio station kind of leaves you alone because they're like, all right, these guys, they're pretty good. Lisa was doing a nationally syndicated show. She was on in over 100 markets. I was doing a syndicated different show. I was on in over 100 markets. We were rolling. So we get to my buddy's place, Mike O'Malley's condo, right downtown Chicago. He's like, you guys crash here. So we get to his condo and it's 4:30 in the morning. We're like, let's have a nightcap. I think we got maybe 20 minutes of sleep. And I remember Lisa knocking on my door.
It's called a nap, Ray.
Lisa, what's that?
It's called a nap.
Power nap. So Lisa and I, Lisa's like, Ray, we got to go to work. And it was, oh, what a day that was. We didn't get any sleep. We were legally intoxicated on the radio. But the fact is that no matter what we did the night before, we would always rise to the occasion.
Yeah.
And people that were listening, they didn't know any better, but we told the story on the air.
Yeah, of course. And see, that's the thing.
You're not going to believe this. Ray was on top of the bar singing Amarillo by Morning, drinking Jack Daniels. And I'm like, you were right there with me.
Yeah.
But we have millions of stories like that. One time we partied with the band Montgomery Gentry. When they first came out, they came to town. They wanted to go to a mafia steakhouse, so we took them to Gene and Giorgetti. We stayed there all day and all evening. They missed their show that night in Philly because they were in Chicago partying with the who's who. Aldermen were coming in, and we had the bus parked right out front. And we had some of the even some Chicago television executives that hung out at Gene and Giorgetti's were there. They were going on the tour bus, which was parked right on Franklin Street, drinking Kentucky moonshine. And it was just stories about the things that we did in Chicago that just we never would have had access to if it hadn't been for radio. I mean, it did a lot. It's done a lot of really good. I attribute everything I have to radio. Yeah. So I think it's been a good relationship. But yeah, we've done some fun stuff.
Erin, we chose poorly. There's a lot more fun going on over there.
Craziest viewer letter or comment? This would be
the one that I really remember, and I don't think it's crazy. I just think it's something that stuck with me. They did a focus group, and a listener sent in a note that said, "I think Ramblin Ray is the guy I'd like to have for a neighbor as long as I had a really tall fence."
I'll take that.
Remember that.
I've heard worse.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not bad.
I mean, you get, for some reason, I would get a lot of emails. I still do. I get, especially with social media now, with the ability to people to just instant message you. I do get a lot of women asking if I'm single still. So that's kind of weird. I never quite grasped that.
It's because you're hot.
You said it, not me.
I'm a likable guy. All right, now I don't know if this one necessarily applies to you. Most dangerous assignment.
You know what? It wasn't something that I did. It's something that Lisa and I did to our guy, first job, Chris. We remember Chris?
Yeah, he was there when I was there. Yeah.
Inglewood was named the most dangerous neighborhood in America, and we sent him down there with the US 99 van. Handing out tickets to a country show, and he had a good time. And now, I don't know how dangerous it was at 5:30 or 6 in the morning, but he probably would have rather not gone there.
I don't call that amazing.
Just I do a lot of outreach in Inglewood now, so I can say that.
All right, so tell me you worked in radio without telling me you worked in radio.
Well, that's a good one. How do I work in radio?
That was probably enough because # The Voice.
Yeah,
right?
What, Gina? Oh, here, I guess.
He's got a production crew.
I mean, I love
Hi,
it.
Gina.
I see. Hi. I see the dog.
Do you have your makeup on? You want to come on camera, dear? Maybe this one.
Ooh.
Or maybe this one.
Oh.
I don't know. I got maybe that. I don't know. Always having a direct line to U-Haul. Should I have to move real quick? I don't know. That's a good question. I don't have a great answer for that.
All right, we'll have you back on again. You can give us another one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Longest time on air.
Now you mean on an air shift?
Straight.
Consistently. Yeah. Like you were talking for how many hours?
I did a Christmas time toy drive on Y108, 107.9 FM, doing it in the burbs for 24 hours.
Oof. Straight.
That was a long day.
Oh my God. Just break to go to the bathroom and that's it, right?
No, I would use my weather mug. Available at shop.sustainablegrace.com.
Which we can buy where again?
Pardon me?
Shop Local Grace? What
Shop
is it?
Sustainable Grace.
Shop
There
Sustainable
you
Grace.
go.
All right. Some talent that you learn doing radio that you carry forward in your life that other people can apply to their lives.
I think the ability to compromise and learn that. I think really by working with a team, and I don't know if it's like this in television because you guys are on. I know that there's a lot of work that goes into it, but basically it's either an hour or a half hour. Some of the morning shows are ridiculously long, but when you sit in a room with somebody for 4 hours, you learn that you need to drop your ego at the door. Sometimes that's hard for people to do, but when you can learn to do that, you can have success. So I think that learning how to compromise with salespeople, with management, because I'm not a big management guy. And I think if you can, I think that taught me how to, understand how the business works, how to ebb and flow with the changes. And I think that'll pay dividends here, in the upcoming days. You'll hear some news from me pretty soon, I think.
I can't wait.
Will you come back on to tell us about it?
Absolutely. I'll have you guys on.
Okay.
That'd be great.
We're ready.
We're going to be wearing sweatpants, just so you know.
Yeah.
That's
I don't
fine.
wear like nice clothes anymore. We
I
have
Ray,
put
I
aside
haven't
our
worn
slutty
Spanx,
wedding
like,
dresses
at all in 2
You know,
years.
you
Right.
know, Gina wears the yoga pants, and those work for me.
Okay, so I have a
They're a
picture.
little tight when I wear them, but there
So
she
here
is.
are your other pictures that you sent.
Yeah, that the picture on the left was that was me, and that's my best girl, Gina. She that was her and me at the Blake Shelton concert. And then the other picture is a show we're working on here. It's we don't necessarily have a name for it yet, and I know there was a TV show called Chicago's Best. I was thinking of calling it The Best of Chicago. We were out at the Rosemont Dogs, or the Chicago Dogs ball yard, just doing some local things. I think there's an opportunity for a show, maybe Friday night, Saturday night, that showcases the good things about Chicago, because all we hear about is the bad.
So true.
I went out and I did a lot of things in the neighborhoods. One of them was Inglewood. We did a neighborhood cleanup project, and I think there's an ability for us as media people to get past all the bad that we hear, and for the love of God, do something that's good and upbeat.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean we have to forget about what's going on. It just means that aside from everything bad that's going on in Chicago, and there's a lot of people that don't want to admit that Chicago's in a world of hurt right now, which amazes me, because I don't know how you can honestly fix a problem if you don't address it. It's why men and women get divorced at a high rate, because you can't talk about the problem. You got to know the problem to fix it. So I understand that there's bad things going on, but we can also accentuate the good. So that's something that we're working on too, with a group called Creative 22 Agency in Chicago.
I love that, Ray. That's great.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get into TV. I'll be way too old by the time it happens. But
I missed you, man.
Can I just suggest you just start a YouTube channel? It's a low bar to entry,
we thought about that. We've thought about that, and trust me, every day I get harangued by my girl that's back there in her office right now. You got to start a podcast. You got to do this, and I said, but you have to understand. But for me, I have a big social media presence, and I can still reach the people that I want to reach and keep them. And just to give you an idea, my reach on Facebook alone this month was 1.8 million people.
Jeez,
and
Ray.
that's content, and that's an audience for somebody that's already there. They're just looking to go and listen to you or watch you. So that's there. And my deal is I can do it really cheap, really effective. Let people get a look into my life, which for some reason people find interesting. And podcasts are hard to monetize unless you have a sponsor. So, and I don't feel like giving my content out for free.
You don't want to call Toyota? Drive a truck again?
If I had a sponsorship like that, but I do a lot of influencing on my social media sites, which I'll be honest with you, it's keeping me going right now. So it's nothing different than what I did on the radio. It's just a different platform.
Same.
Yeah, well, and I mean, everybody trusts you too, and we know you're not going to plug a product that you don't like you mentioned,
right?
The Toyota.
Yeah. Well, I think that's important too, and that was the other thing. And I think I alluded to that when I talked about the Toyota drive that I did for them. Is I didn't know their product. I didn't want to sell something that I didn't know. So we took a chance on each other, and it worked. But yeah, I think the old rule of thumb is if you piss somebody off, it takes 36 good impressions to fix that one bad. So like I said earlier, our brand is all we have. That's all we have here. So you don't want to fuss with it.
Yeah.
Well, that stresses me out. It was 30. I got a lot of angry emails. I think I pissed a lot of people off. I don't think I had enough good.
there's a lot of angry
mean,
people in the world, you know, and the problem is that for some reason we pay attention to them, and I don't know why. Why do
yeah,
we pay?
what is that?
Why is it? Yeah, because it's like, you know, and I feel like that's an issue, and I'm probably going off track here, but as a father of two young daughters, you know, my daughter, who was a performer, my Cheyenne Rose, she could go play a show and have 500 people tell her she was beautiful and she sang like an angel. But if one person didn't tell her she did,
That's
she
the
would
one you
let that
remember.
work on her. And I don't know what that is. And I think we consistently have, and this works for men as well. I think that's, you know, we need to lift each other up. And you know, if something's crap, I think you have to be honest with somebody. But
Yeah.
you know, not everything has to be done out of emotion and anger. And for some reason, that's where we are in this world right now, and it ain't good.
No.
Megan and I do lament that we didn't save some of our terrible emails. But
We only
Megan
have a
got
couple.
called out before for her craggly, scraggly knees.
Yeah.
Wasn't that one of them?
What does that even mean? Oh, and I got a bunch of like, you don't have a 4-head, you have a 5-head. And I'm like, what? If it bothered me, I'd wear bangs. It clearly doesn't. Like, and also,
Well,
what was I supposed to do about that?
you know, I think, again, I think people are just, and you guys put yourself right there I mean, you're a target, because there you are.
Yeah.
You put yourself out there, and you know, you're not necessarily always doing your own material. Somebody, you know, you may have written it, but there might be something that comes up on a teleprompter that you didn't,
Yeah.
you know, but you know, you're an easy target, and we got to let that roll. We got to let that roll off our back, and, you know, do the old Stuart Smalley thing from Saturday Night Live and say, you know, I'm good enough. You know, people like me.
Gosh darn it.
Man,
Ramblin
it
Ray,
was
what
so
else do
nice
we need to
catch
tell
up.
people?
You know what? I don't know. I should have media news coming out relatively soon. It's
All
been
right.
it's
And
Where
here's your
will you break the news? Will you break the news on your
website.
Facebook page? Where?
you know what? I think I'll probably break it across the socials that I'm on. I'll
Okay.
probably, you know, have people go to that website, ramblinraystevens.com. I don't update it as often as I should. And that I think is given to the fact that you know, we are so accessible through social media. But I think that since Robert Feeder's not in the business anymore, I'm going to reach out to Robert in hopes that he'll post it for me, just so I can be in his column one more time, because I miss that. I can't believe I miss Robert Feeder, because, you know, every now and then when you're in the Feeder column, you're always like, oh, what's he going to write? But
Right.
I think I'll give it to him first, if it happens, and then we'll go on social media.
Well, we have our fingers crossed for you and wish you nothing but the best.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
We are here to
Yes.
celebrate you. So whenever you want to share your good news, and whenever the Good News Chicago launches too, come back on.
We'll try. You know, that might be destined for a YouTube channel. That I think is worth a YouTube. But we do need a big sponsor for that, because there's a lot of production that goes into a show like that.
Right.
You
Yeah.
can't do it.
Right.
And I don't want to do it on the cheap. I want to do it right. So
wanna do it right.
yeah, I need a sponsor. So if you want, ramblinraystevens.com, you can sponsor me up.
I love it. Well, hey, it's so good to see you and catch up with you and hear your stories. Tell Lisa we say hi, and First Job Chris, all the crew.
I will, man. I love you guys. You know it. I always have. And you know, whoever made that decision over there, Channel 2, is Chicago's loss. So I'm glad.
you.
I'm glad you invited me on. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Ray.
Bye, everybody.
See you later.